Singing your songs down a key while performing live is just about the most common thing in music. Even opera singers do it. So why do singers love to perform in a key that they didn't write the song in? I mean, you wrote it in that key, so why not just play it live in that key? Well, believe it or not, there's actually a pretty good reason. I'll let Olivia Rodrigo explain.
Sometimes in the studio when you're recording stuff, it feels more intense to have it like up a little bit, and then when it comes time to singing it live, you kind of get like scared to sing it really high, so you just like bring it down a key.
To summarize, singing is like hard. Singing is a very physical act and it causes literal strain on your body. And unlike most instruments, the higher you climb in your vocal range, the more strenuous it gets. In the studio, you can pause, take breaks, drink water, and spend up to several hours on just one song. Because of this, singers are afforded the ability to take more risks and push themselves harder. Unfortunately, in a live setting, you're only given one shot. You can't just interrupt the song and start over. Well, unless you're Justin Bieber.
Hey, yo, can we, I know we're live right now, but I think you guys have some tune on my vocals or something. Turn off the auto-tune? Awesome, let's do that again.
All this is to say, singing songs in a lower key literally saves you some stress. It makes perfect sense why singers, no matter their skill level, sometimes like to play it safe and take their songs down a key or two. Hell, even I've done this before. Go stream that song, by the way. It's called Flame 2.0, link in description. I promise you won't regret it. To a certain extent, singing your song in its original key takes some guts. But what if I told you that in some very, very rare cases, some brave singers have not only performed their songs in the original key, but have actually taken their song up a key while performing live? Don't believe me?
The club isn't the best place to find the lovers, so the bar is where I go. The club isn't the best place to find the lovers, so the bar is where I go.
Ah, porque tudo é tão triste.
Ah, porque tudo é tão triste.
Ocean man, take me by the hand, lead me to the land.
Ocean man, take me by the hand, lead me to the land.
Given everything I said earlier, this makes absolutely no sense. Why are these artists opting to put more strain on their voice than they even did in the studio? Let's start with the most obvious one, Linkin Park. This one is pretty straightforward. They got a different singer. In 2017, legendary Linkin Park singer Chester Bennington, who sang on all the original recordings, tragically passed away. After going on hiatus for a few years, Linkin Park recouped in 2024, unveiling their new singer, Emily Armstrong. Now, to state the obvious, Chester Bennington was a dude. Emily Armstrong is, well, definitely not a dude. That said, women singers don't always cover male vocals in a higher key. Here's Olivia Rodrigo covering Billy Joel while staying in the original key. More famously, here's Dua Lipa singing Justin Bieber's Love Yourself in the original key.
And I didn't want to write a song, 'cause I didn't want anyone thinking I still care, I don't, but...
That said, Chester Bennington's signature grungy vocals require singing higher up in your range if you want to have the same emotional affect a Linkin Park song should have. Given that Emily Armstrong has a slightly higher range than Chester Bennington, it completely makes sense that she would sing the song in a higher key. What is more interesting to the story is the rest of the band. Excluding the singer, 4 out of the 5 members are the original band members who played in the studio recording. They don't sound like a band covering Linkin Park. They sound like Linkin Park because they are Linkin Park. In a way, playing their old songs in a higher key kinda gives a new, much-needed freshness to their performance. Playing up a few steps while otherwise staying true to the original recording allows them to honor the memory of Chester Bennington while giving their new singer a chance to fully express herself. Okay, so it's one thing for instrumentalists to play their song in a higher key, but what about a solo singer? Enter Antonio Carlos Jobim.
Moça do corpo dourado do sol de Ipanema.
Moça do corpo dourado do sol de Ipanema.
If you don't know, The Girl from Ipanema by Tom Jobim is an incredibly famous piece of repertoire in the worlds of jazz and bossa nova. It's been covered by singers you've probably heard of, like Stevie Wonder, Nat King Cole, and most famously, Frank Sinatra.
Young and lovely, the girl from Ipanema goes walking and
The Girl from Ipanema is also apparently the second most recorded song in human history. If you couldn't tell, much of the information about the song I'm drawing from this incredibly well-made Adam Neely video. It's a little long, but check it out if you have time. It's difficult to know what key The Girl from Ipanema was originally composed in. The first ever known recording of the song was in E major. But since the release of Stan Getz and Astrud Gilberto's iconic recording in 1964, the song became synonymous with the key of D-flat.
Olha que coisa mais linda, mais cheia de graça.
In the early days, Tom Jobim would perform the song in D-flat.
Ah, se ela soubesse que quando ela passa.
Now, if you've heard any of these live performances, you probably know that D-flat is a very low key to sing this song in, especially for a male vocalist.
Que eu já vi passar.
This is probably why when Frank Sinatra recorded the song, he bumped the key up by 2 whole steps to F major.
when she walks, she's like a samba that's
Sinatra's recording of The Girl from Ipanema went on to become the most well-known and listened to rendition of the song. When performing live, Sinatra would always sing the song in the key of F major, even when performing with Tom Jobim.
she looks straight ahead, not at me.
Because of this, and the doings of some major music publishing companies, The Girl from Ipanema came to be known by American audiences in the key of F major. It's impossible to know how Tom Jobim felt about this, but imagine a song you wrote being strong-armed by outside forces into having its very key redefined. Pretty crazy if you ask me. One way or another, Jobim eventually came around to his song's newfound key. Not only did he sing the song in F while performing with Sinatra, he also started singing the song in F when performing all by himself. Whether you consider the original key to be E or D flat, F is higher than both of those, making this one of the rare examples of a singer performing their own song live in a higher key. This next example is for all you OG SpongeBob fans out there. Remember the SpongeBob SquarePants movie? Remember that song that plays at the end that just fills you with euphoria to cap off that absolute masterpiece of a movie?
Ocean man, take me by the hand.
Believe it or not, that song has a name. It's called Ocean Man by Ween. Yes, the band's name is Ween. Legendary. In the movie, we hear the studio recording of the song in the key of E major.
Ocean man, the crust of a tan man, by the sand.
However, when performing live, Ween plays their own song 3 half steps up in the key of G major.
Ocean man, the sequence of a life form raised in the sand.
Why? Well, the way they recorded this song is kind of interesting. If you listen to the studio recording, you might notice something kind of odd.
Ocean man, the voyage to the corner of the globe is a real trip.
You hear how the singer's voice sounds a little wonky?
Ocean man,
That's because his vocals have been pitched down. The vocals were originally recorded in the key of G at a relatively fast tempo.
Ocean man, take me by the hand, lead me to the land.
But the rest of the band recorded the song in a slower tempo in the key of E. To sync up the vocals with the instrumentals, the vocals were slowed down, lowering their pitch and giving them that signature wonky effect. Ween was definitely not the first band to do something like this. If you're a hardcore Beatles fan, you're probably familiar with the story of Strawberry Fields Forever.
The version of Strawberry Fields Forever that we all know and love today is actually comprised of two quite different takes that were stitched together at the 1 minute mark.
The Strawberry Fields recording that we know and love today was recorded at a fast tempo in the key of C major. But while splicing and dicing takes, producer George Martin slowed down the recording, lowering the key to B-flat major. The difference is, after the record was released, B-flat forever became the identity of Strawberry Fields. When performing live, you'd better believe that the Beatles play the song in B-flat.
Let me take you down, 'cause I'm no.
When Ween plays Ocean Man live, they opt to play it in the original recording key of G major. Why they do this, I have no idea. We all know and love the song in E major, and the live performance in that higher key, at least to me, doesn't really hit those same nostalgic notes as the pitched down recording. I wasn't able to find any interviews of Dean or Gene Ween discussing this, so I can only speculate. My only guess is that for some reason, Ocean Man forever lives in the key of G major in singer Dean Ween's head. Even though he could save his voice some stress and sing Ocean Man in the key we all know it in, he just can't bring himself to do it. This next example is a little bit funny. In 2006, comedian Burnham rose to prominence after uploading a series of some pretty silly songs to YouTube.
I'm the greatest rapper ever, and I'll whether you think I'm clever or not.
One of these songs was called My Whole Family, where Bo jokingly laments his family for believing him to be homosexual. Here's how the chorus of that song went. Now, you might notice, that chorus is really hard to hear. Looking back, it's kinda hard to understand how audio quality like that went so viral. I guess 2006 really was a different time. Anyway, it's not difficult to see why when Bo performed the song live on his comedy tour 2 years later, he took the chorus up an entire octave.
My whole family thinks I'm gay. I guess it's always been that way.
I guess if you're singing a comedy song, it's pretty important that the audience can actually hear the lyrics. This last example is my personal favorite.
I'm in love with the shape of you. I'm in love with the shape of you.
Ed Sheeran tends to get a lot of flack online. I think a lot of people don't realize that he's actually an insanely good singer as well as a really skilled performer. It's extremely impressive that when Sheeran performs Shape of You, not only is he live looping the entire instrumental, he's also singing an entire 8 half steps above the original key.
The club isn't the best place to find the lovers, so the bar is where I go.
In the process, he ends up hitting some seriously high notes.
Me and my friends sat at the table doing shots, drinking fast, and then we talk slow.
This has led some YouTube commenters to suggest that his live vocals are even better than his studio vocals, which I would agree with. Which leads me to ask, why did Sheeran record Shape of You in such a low key to begin with? Obviously, I have to state for the record that I cannot access Ed Sheeran's brain, so any reasoning I give is purely speculative. I think I have a pretty good guess though. After watching this New York Times piece about how he wrote the song, I think Sheeran conceptualizes the piece being an octave higher than we the listeners do. To us, this is the main melody. I'm in love with the shape of you. But to Ed, this is the main melody. I'm in love with the shape of you. So in Ed's mind, he's actually performing the song 8 half steps down from the original key.
I know with the shape of you, but I don't know if that it's true. It is more. I'm in love with.
Singers performing live in a higher key is extremely rare, and anytime a singer does this, there seems to be an interesting story behind it. Given how uncommon it is, I'm gonna make a deal with you. If you're able to find a recording of a famous singer performing live in a higher key than the original, tell me about it in the comments. I promise I will personally research your example and respond to your comment with the story behind it. Okay, now that you've watched my whole video, go listen to my new album. Link in description. Thanks, bye!